Hey, so recently this channel hit a milestone and it kind of slipped past me. I didn't really notice it until after it happened, but yeah, this channel hit 100 million views, which is insane. I mean, the idea that this face has been looked at 100 million times, that's horrifying. That's a nightmare. That much time looking at this face, that's a war crime, is what that is. Anyway, old school viewers of this channel know that we celebrate milestones around these parts, and usually when I do a subscriber milestone, I do a live stream for that, but when it comes to views, I do a lightning round. Now, I think the last lightning round video that I did was at 50 million views, and usually I just submit questions, or I have people submit questions from all over the place, Twitter, all my different social media and whatnot. But last time I got so many questions, it took 4 lightning round videos to get through them, so I realized I needed to kind of do something different this time. So this time around, I just opened up the questions to my Patreon viewers, but they came through with some really great questions, so this should be fun. Before I get into it, I know a lot of people are struggling right now with what's going on, and I'm always torn between the sheltering in place that I need to be doing, but also trying to support local businesses as much as possible, because I don't want to see these places go under. And I figured I have a platform, so I might use that to help out some small businesses if I can. So if you'll indulge me for a few seconds, I want to talk about Cultivar Coffee. So Cultivar is a coffee shop here in Dallas. They've got a couple of locations. One of them is a favorite haunt of mine, and like a lot of companies, they're really struggling with this pandemic. They had to lay off 75% of their workforce just to keep going. But this is seriously my favorite coffee in the world. When I'm drinking coffee at home or when I'm recording these videos, I'm drinking Cultivar coffee because they do actually sell and roast their own beans. So while yes, the vast majority of you will never step foot into one of their coffee shops, they do sell their beans online, and I can vouch for them. I can highly endorse them. This is literally my favorite coffee in the world. It's fantastic. Yeah, they even have a subscription service where they'll automatically send you new beans. It's like a roaster's choice thing. So they've got all different flavors from all different places. There's Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Kenya, and they actually go there and source and roast these beans themselves. So yeah, if you're really into coffee, or you're just feeling curious, or you just want to judge my tastes, I can highly recommend you guys go check out Cultivar Coffee. I put their website down in the link below. You can get the subscription. They'll automatically send it to you. It's fantastic. I can't imagine that you wouldn't like it if you like coffee. Now, the other thing is, normally at the end of videos, I offer up ways that people can support this channel if they like what I do, you know, Patreon, channel memberships, merch, that kind of thing. Well, today anyway, or for this week for that matter, if you want to support the channel, what I would ask for is a cup of coffee from Cultivar on a gift card. So link and all the details are down below, but yeah, you could give me a gift card, and I will definitely use it because I'm always getting coffee from there. And if I happen to get so many that I can't use them all, I'll donate them to, you know, first line health workers and whatnot in the local area. And by the way, they have no idea I'm doing this. This is not a sponsorship. I'm not getting paid in any way. I just want to help out if I possibly can. And I thought those were a couple of ways that maybe I could do that. So it's up to you. You can go check it out. But with that, I'm done. Let's get to the questions. Redacted asked, how much job time and positions have we already lost to automation? Washing machines, instant cereal, printing presses, etc. Please don't use my real name. So when I first read this and I heard, you know, automation, I was thinking robots in factories and stuff like that. And then you mentioned things like washing machines and cereal, and now I don't know what to think. Because I mean, technological innovation has always spurred job losses and changes in jobs and technology and whatnot. I did a whole video on jobs that used to exist that no longer do. So in terms of technology through the ages, I feel like that would be impossible to calculate. But if we're talking in the last 20 years or so, there is a famous Oxford economics report that was predicting that like 1/3 of jobs are going to go away by the year 2030, and they said that 1.7 million jobs have been lost since 2000. So yeah, that's the closest I could come up with to an actual number. And this actually sets up the next question pretty well. Peter Pernot asked, regarding the near future automation of almost all the jobs available today, what's your take on universal basic income? You know, keeping people above minimum level while the machines are working for us. So yeah, when Andrew Yang was running for president, I had millions of people ask me if I was on the Yang gang, and I was never officially on any gang, but I do like Andrew Yang quite a bit, not just for his policies. He seems like a very genuine person, which is rare these days. But yeah, I do think his message is important, and I'm glad that he got that national stage to present it and get it out there. I never thought that he was going to wind up being the candidate, but this was an important thing that needed to be heard by people, and this will start a conversation that's going to go on for quite some time. Because yeah, I think this is a looming crisis that's going to hit us sooner rather than later, and it's something we need to start talking seriously about one way or another. And I think what's happening right now with the pandemic might sort of accelerate the acceptance of this kind of idea, or this might just be setting us up for a bigger crisis where this will come into play later on in the future. Now, it's always possible that new technologies will spur new jobs that will kind of take over, just like jobs that went away in the past, but I really think that it's all happening so fast right now that we're just going to have to get used to thinking about how we're going to live in a future where 2 out of 5 people can't find work anymore because everything is automated away because of robots and AI. And I have covered this in a previous video too. Desiree D asked, were all the galaxies formed at the same time? If not, or if not sure, could we now or in the future see the light coming from a galaxy so far away that it had already stopped emitting light before our galaxy was even formed? So I was actually curious about this. I didn't know if there were any newer galaxies out there, so I went and I Googled what is the newest galaxy, and I actually found out that it's Galaxy M21. It features a 6.4-inch Super AMOLED Infinity U screen with an Exynos 6911 processor, 4 gigabytes. This is a phone. This is a Galaxy phone. So then I searched Young Galaxy, and I found out that there is a Young Galaxy. It's an indie pop dream band from Vancouver, and son of a b****. So then I just verbatim searched your question, and it turns out that, yeah, it looks like all galaxies were formed in the early universe at the same time, although some did combine to form newer galaxies. And since they were all born at the same time, I would argue that I guess since there are no galaxies that have fizzled out yet, then there's no way for us to see any light from a fizzled out galaxy. But this is based on like 30 seconds of research, so please comment if you think I'm wrong on that. Sarah Day asked, what's going on right now with the economy and coronavirus? Is there a history with widespread panic about flus or viruses and the stock market or economy tanking? Yeah, the day that I officially lost faith in the stock market was probably about 15 years ago or so, and I remember there was a story about a cow in Canada that had been diagnosed with mad cow disease, and immediately agriculture stocks plummeted, meat processing stocks plummeted, the transportation sector that fed and made that economy possible plummeted, and then the futures market plummeted. Next thing you know, the entire stock market went down hundreds of points. It was this horrible day because one cow in Canada got sick. So yeah, panic over anything and stock markets tanking pretty much go hand in hand. So I've been watching videos from a channel called Economics Explained because I'm not an economist, but his videos have done a really good job of kind of breaking down why what's happening right now was sort of a recession that was waiting to happen for a long time. We've kind of been overdue for a recession for a long time, and how this whole pandemic is sort of opening up and exposing all the cracks in the infrastructure of our economy that have been there this whole time, but we've just sort of been coasting above it. So yeah, it seems like this was a long time coming, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's probably going to be a pretty rough next 12 to 18 months. Charles F. Scott asked, what do you think about the work of TerraPower? It's a company Bill Gates is backing. Lastly, I wish you much happiness and success. Same to you, sir. I did do a video on TerraPower a while back. They're the traveling wave reactor guys. It's really interesting technology, and I haven't really heard much about it since I did that video. I would love to go out and actually interview one of those guys at some point, actually. Sam Chalmers asked, what's the best element on the periodic table and why? Probably the best element would just be the biggest element, which is your mom. Brett Messenger asked, there are billionaires all over the world. What makes Elon Musk unique amongst his peers, and how is he the same? I'm actually really interested in what makes high performers tick. What is it that they do that the rest of us don't do? What is it that sets them apart from everybody else? What's their mindset that gets them there? And one that I keep going back to is, for lack of a better way of explaining it, just a willingness to fail, a willingness to just put yourself out there, and I guess the confidence to see it through and understand that if things do fail, that you can learn from it and just move on from there. Like, so many people are just too afraid to start and to get anything done. I have people all the time asking me about how, like, they want to start a YouTube channel. Can I give them advice on how to start a YouTube channel? And I'm like, dude, you just got to start. That's the most important thing. But so many people are just sort of tentative and indecisive and don't want to make that step. And that's the thing that holds them back, is just taking that first step. I feel like the worst thing for these high performer types is to be indecisive. Like, you can make the right decision, you can make a wrong decision, that's fine. The worst thing you can possibly do is make no decision. Now, I can't say that I've really followed or researched the careers and the lives of other billionaires like, your Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and Jack Ma and Warren Buffett and all those guys. So I can't really say what they might do that's different than what Elon Musk might do. But another thing that they all seem to share is a bit of a ruthlessness about them. They kind of don't mind breaking social norms and doing things that other people might not be willing to do to get what they want. Now, Elon kind of famously espouses a first principles thinking to things, which is sort of like deconstructing a problem, breaking it down to its fundamental elements, and as long as it doesn't break the laws of physics, it can happen. And that's just sort of a throwing away the shackles of the way everything else has always been done and just starting over from scratch and doing things in a completely different way. I don't know if that separates him from other billionaires or if they do the same thing or apply the same kind of thinking in their own ways, but I know that that's sort of a mindset that Elon is famous for having. Jeffrey Giuliani asked, what's the current state of the James Webb telescope? Good question. So there's a website that I'll link down below that gives almost weekly updates on its progress. But the last thing that it shows is that they completed a folding procedure for the sunshade to test out how that works back in January. Last month they delivered a new command and telemetry processor. And yeah, right now it says the launch is scheduled for March 30th of next year. I really hope that that is what gets stuck to, but they've not stuck to any of their other deadlines, so I'm not going to hold my breath on that. Bill Kerr asked, buying electric cars, LED lighting, and solar panels is cool. Heck, I'm fully on board with that. When will people come to the realization that the only effective way to slow and eventually undo climate change is to make, buy, and use less stuff? When will people come to that realization? Probably never. You know, we do seem to believe that we can innovate and technologically work our way out of this situation without having to actually sacrifice our way of life in any way, which would be great, but I feel like we are eventually going to hit a point where we're going to realize there's going to have to be some sacrifices made. And when that time comes, there's going to be a huge pushback on that. You know, and I do think this whole big pause that we're living in right now is a super interesting time because we are driving less and we are consuming less and we're seeing the skies clear and the rivers clear and we're actually seeing that nature is cleaning up extremely fast, like shockingly fast. And so maybe this will inspire some people who have just had the problem's too big mindset this whole time to kind of see that like, oh, this is something we can affect, this is something that we can change, and inspire them to change their own behaviors as well. I don't know. It's really an interesting time, and it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. The Uvenist asked, through history we explain the universe in 3 different ways: metaphysics, theology, and finally science. Are there any speculations about the next way of explaining the universe? I'm talking about a major update in science philosophy. Maybe philosophers are working on this major update in science philosophy? I'm guessing the next big breakthrough that would occur in our understanding of the universe would just be in some kind of theory of everything that combines quantum theory and relativistic physics. What that would be, you know, it's something I talk about on the channel quite a bit. There's string theory, there's pilot wave theory. I mean, there's all kinds of ideas out there, and I don't know. We'll see. But to me, that is the only thing that would really shake up our understanding of the universe from this point forward. David Beale asked, as the cost of launches comes down and more frequent, will it become cost-effective to send nuclear waste into the sun as opposed to storing it for hundreds of years? I think probably not. You know, a quick, tangent or side note is that I find it really interesting that it's actually harder to launch things toward the sun than away from it. Like the Parker Solar Probe that went up not too long ago, apparently it got one of the fastest speeds any spacecraft has ever reached, but it was flying toward the sun, and it was going to be like just above the corona of the sun. And for physics reasons that are beyond my scope, it's actually very, very difficult to go toward the sun as opposed to away from it, just because of orbital stuff. But I think the concern around launching nuclear waste up into space, whether it's toward the sun or just out into the deep space or whatever, is just that if something were to go wrong, and things do go wrong sometimes, then that nuclear waste would then just be spread out all over the world. I mean, even payloads that have been going up to like deep space that have plutonium or some kind of nuclear power source on them, there was a lot of concern when they launched those that something might go wrong, so there was like extra checks being done. Now, I personally would bank on next generation nuclear technologies that can actually take nuclear waste and get more power out of them becoming more of a thing than actually launching it up into space, but that's just me. I haven't really done a video on that type of nuclear power, I don't think. I should do a video on that. Sean Devine asked a couple of questions. 1, when do you see becoming an astronaut to be a college option or vocational school? And 2, your thoughts on putting up a Texas-shaped sunshade for cooling the Earth by blocking a small percentage of sunlight. I think the bragging rights and advertising would be worth it, and it would need to pass over California once a day at noon. How dare you give me the evil laugh? So I'll start with the second one. I actually kind of have a video in the pipeline that would just sort of explore the possibility of a sunshade that would actually probably go out at like the L1 Lagrange point. I actually find the engineering behind it really interesting, and I just kind of want to look at what all that would take. It would definitely be a mega project, but what if we could do that? What would that look like? I have a video in the works on that topic. And as for the first question about, being able to just go to college and major in being an astronaut, I'm not sure we would see that in our lifetime. I'm being a little conservative here because a lot of us like the idea that, with, new private spacecraft going up and becoming a whole thing, that we're going to start to see more astronauts, like civilian astronauts, going up and doing stuff. But the cost of crewed spaceflight is still so expensive that the only market for people going up there would probably be once we start doing heavy industry in space, which is kind of like what Blue Origin wants to do. There's got to be a reason to send a whole bunch of people up there like that. And until we get to that point, it would require launch costs to go way down from where they are right now. And they're getting there, but I think it's going to take a really long time. And even after that really long time, it's going to be like qualified people that serve a specific purpose that could go up there and perform some kind of job. The idea of just going to a vocational school or getting a degree and being an astronaut, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Stephen Glasser asked, "Congrats on the milestone. If you had a quarter for every view, where would you keep them? But seriously, what would you buy with it? At first I was going to write a nickel, but that wouldn't even get you a ticket to the ISS, so let's be generous." Yeah, but a quarter wouldn't get me to the ISS either. So if I had a quarter for every view, 100 million views, that'd be $25 million. So yeah, actually, interestingly, last year NASA announced that they were going to kind of open up the ISS for some space tourism options, but the only way to get up there would be either on the Starliner or on the Crew Dragon, and the cost for those would be around $60 million. The cost of the flights on the Soyuz was around $20 to $25 million when you had some of the space tourists that were going up there. That's what they were paying for it. But then they had to shut down that space tourism thing on the Soyuz because when the shuttle retired in 2011, the Soyuz was now our only ride up to space, so they shut down the tourism stuff after that. So, I mean, if Boeing and SpaceX start launching people, then the Soyuz might reopen the space tourism thing again. And if they were still charging between 20 and 25 million, then I guess maybe I could, although their prices might go up because inflation. I don't know. I'd probably just blow it on a super yacht. Melissa McPherson had a few questions. Number 1, how are you doing? Really, how are you? Happy? I'm doing great, thanks for asking. Number 3, why do I keep misplacing my keys in my phone? I mean, really, is there a fairy that moves things around the house and steals socks? Yes. And number 4, why can't we detect dark matter in our own solar system? Shouldn't it be here? No, I mean, I think it's probably here. It's just that it interacts so weakly with normal matter that it's only detectable on galactic scales. But, we're trying all kinds of different ways to detect it, so we'll see. Charlie Livingston asked, what's your position on the Copenhagen interpretation? I'm not a fan, but it is still the leading theory. I don't know. My opinion is that it's kind of wacky, but so are all the different theories out there on this. That's so far above my head, to be completely honest with you. I can kind of talk about it in a video, but I can't claim to know enough about it to go and make an opinion that goes against the consensus view of scientists out there. I will always just defer to the consensus view because I am not a scientist myself. So hey, I thought I could get all of these questions in one video. I was wrong. Yeah, this turned out to be a lot longer than I expected it to be, a lot longer than I would expect anybody to want to look at this face. So I am splitting it up into 2 parts. This was part 1. I will be releasing part 2 next Thursday. Because why dump it all at once when you can spread things out? It's not like we're going anywhere for a while. So, but again, thanks for the questions. If you didn't see your question answered up here, stay tuned. It'll be in the next one. And yeah, a huge thanks for everybody who's been watching the channel, sharing videos and commenting and just being a part of this thing and helping me get to this point, this 100 million view thing, which just still does not, it just doesn't even sound right. And again, if you want to support me for this week, I'm asking you to buy me coffee through a Cultivar gift card. I know I would use it, and I know it would help those guys out, so let's do that. Links down below. So until next week, you guys go out there, have an eye-opening week, stay safe, and I'll see you next Monday. Love you guys. Take care.